I walked into my boss's office at exactly 3 p.m. on a Thursday afternoon. I had practiced what I was going to say at least 20 times. My hands were sweaty and my heart was pounding, but I was determined. After 4 years at Horizon Analytics without a single raise, I deserved this conversation. My boss, Gerald Hamilton, looked up from his computer with obvious irritation. "What is it, Nathan?" "I'm busy." I had scheduled this meeting 3 days ago, but apparently he had forgotten. I sat down in the chair across from his desk without waiting to be invited. "Gerald, I wanted to discuss my compensation. I've been with the company for 4 years now, and my salary hasn't changed since I was hired." Gerald leaned back in his chair and stared at me. The silence stretched for several uncomfortable seconds. Then, suddenly he started laughing. Not a polite chuckle, a full, genuine laugh like I had just told the funniest joke he had ever heard. My face burned with humiliation. Gerald's laughter filled his office, loud enough that I was certain people outside could hear it. "You want a raise?" he finally managed to say between laughs. "That's hilarious, Nathan." "Really?" I tried to keep my voice steady. "I don't think it's unreasonable. I've exceeded every target you've given me. I manage the 3 largest client accounts. I've brought in over $2 million in new business this year alone." Gerald's laughter died down, but his smirk remained. "Nathan, do you know how many analysts we have in this company?" 47. "Do you know how many of them think they deserve raises?" "All of them." He leaned forward, his expression turning cold. "You're replaceable. Every single one of you. I could post your job online right now and have 50 qualified applicants by tomorrow morning." The words hit me like a physical blow. 4 years of loyalty, hard work, and success, and this was how he saw me. Replaceable. "I work 60-hour weeks," I said quietly. "I haven't taken a vacation in 2 years. My clients trust me. The Morrison account specifically requested to work with me." Gerald waved his hand dismissively. "That's your job, Nathan. That's what we pay you for. You want a medal for doing what you're supposed to do." I felt anger rising in my chest, but I forced it down. "I'm asking for a 15% increase. That would bring my salary to market rate for someone with my experience and track record." Gerald actually rolled his eyes. "Market rate? Nathan, you should be grateful you have a job at all. The economy is unpredictable. Companies are cutting positions everywhere. If you don't like what we pay you, there's the door." He pointed to his office door, making his meaning crystal clear. I could accept what he offered or I could leave. Those were my only options. I stood up slowly. "Thank you for your time," I said, my voice carefully neutral. As I walked out of Gerald's office, I felt numb. The analysts in the cubicles around me carefully avoided eye contact. They had definitely heard Gerald laughing. By tomorrow, everyone in the office would know that I had asked for a raise and been humiliated for it. I sat down at my desk and stared at my computer screen without really seeing it. 4 years. I had given this company 4 years of my life. I had missed family dinners, canceled dates, and worked through weekends. I had done everything they asked and more. And Gerald thought I was replaceable. My phone buzzed with a text from my best friend, Kyle. "Still on for drinks tonight?" I had forgotten we had plans. I texted back, "Definitely. I need it." That evening, I met Kyle at our usual bar downtown. He took one look at my face and ordered 2 whiskeys. "That bad?" I told him everything. Gerald's laughter, his dismissive comments, the threat about replacing me. Kyle listened quietly, then shook his head. 4 years without a raise is insane, man. You know that's not normal, right? I took a long drink. "What am I supposed to do?" Gerald made it clear, accept what I have or leave. Kyle pulled out his phone. "My company is hiring senior analysts. The starting salary is 20% more than what you make now. Want me to send you the job posting?" I hesitated. The thought of leaving Horizon Analytics felt terrifying and liberating at the same time. "I don't know. Starting over somewhere new." Kyle cut me off. "Starting over somewhere that values you. Think about it." I took the job posting home with me that night. I read through it 3 times before going to bed. The position was almost identical to what I did now, but with better pay, better benefits, and actual room for advancement. The next morning, I updated my resume and sent in my application. I didn't tell anyone at work. Over the next 2 weeks, something strange started happening. I stopped caring about impressing Gerald. I showed up at 9 a.m. and left at 5:30 p.m., exactly my contracted hours. I stopped volunteering for extra projects. I stopped working weekends. For the first time in 4 years, I set boundaries. Gerald noticed immediately. He called me into his office on a Monday morning. "Nathan, I've noticed you've been leaving early lately." I looked at him calmly. I've been leaving at 5:30, which is when my workday ends according to my contract. Gerald's jaw tightened. We have a culture of dedication here. People who want to advance stay late, show commitment. I smiled politely. I've shown commitment for 4 years without any advancement or compensation increase. I'm simply working my contracted hours now. Gerald looked like he wanted to argue, but he couldn't. I was meeting all my job requirements. He dismissed me with a frustrated wave. That afternoon, I received an email from Kyle's company. They wanted to schedule an interview. My heart started racing as I read through the details. The interview was set for Friday at 2 p.m. I would need to take a long lunch, but I could make it work. The interview went better than I could have imagined. The hiring manager, Vanessa Pierce, was professional and warm. She asked intelligent questions about my experience and actually listened to my answers. Your track record is impressive, Vanessa said, reviewing my portfolio. Bringing in $2 million in new business this year alone, that's significant. It felt surreal to have someone recognize my work instead of dismissing it. I believe in building strong client relationships, I said. When clients trust you, they invest more. Vanessa nodded. That's exactly the approach we value here. Our analysts are partners, not just employees. We invest in their growth because we know it benefits everyone. The contrast between Vanessa's words and Gerald's attitude was striking. Can I ask, Vanessa said carefully, why you're looking to leave your current position? You've been there 4 years. I had prepared for this question. I'm looking for opportunities for growth and advancement. After 4 years without any salary adjustment or clear path forward, I realized I need to find a company that values long-term employee development. Vanessa's expression showed understanding. We've had several employees join us from companies with similar issues. I want to be clear about our philosophy. We conduct annual performance reviews with compensation adjustments for those who meet or exceed expectations. We also have a clear promotion structure. This sounded too good to be true. What's the timeline for a decision? I asked. Vanessa smiled. We're moving quickly on this position. You should hear from us by Wednesday. I left the interview feeling hopeful for the first time in months. That hope felt dangerous, but I couldn't help it. Wednesday arrived and my phone rang at 10 a.m. It was Vanessa. Nathan, I'm pleased to offer you the senior analyst position. The salary is $85,000 annually, with full benefits starting day 1 and a performance review scheduled at 6 months. My current salary was $68,000. They were offering me $17,000 more per year, exactly the 15% increase I had asked Gerald for, plus an additional $7,000. I accept, I said, trying to keep my voice professional despite the excitement flooding through me. Wonderful, Vanessa replied. We'll send the formal offer letter today. When can you start? I thought about standard 2-week notices. I can start 3 weeks from Monday. After hanging up, I sat at my desk staring at my computer. I had just accepted a new job. Now I needed to quit this one. The thought of telling Gerald made me smile. I spent the rest of that day documenting all my current projects and client relationships. I scheduled a meeting with Gerald for Thursday at 4 p.m. I wanted to give my notice at the end of the day to avoid awkwardness. When I walked into his office, Gerald didn't even look up from his computer. What is it, Nathan? I sat down and placed a printed letter on his desk. I'm giving you my 2 weeks' notice. My last day will be a week from Friday. Gerald's head snapped up. He stared at me, then at the letter, then back at me. You're quitting? I kept my expression neutral. Yes. I've accepted a position elsewhere. Gerald picked up the letter and read it quickly. I had kept it professional and brief, just the facts, no emotions. This is very sudden, Gerald said, his voice tight. What brought this on? I almost laughed. I think you know. We had a conversation about compensation 2 weeks ago. You made it clear there was no room for advancement here. Gerald's face reddened. So you're leaving because I wouldn't give you a raise? That's incredibly immature, Nathan. I stayed calm. I'm leaving because I found an opportunity that better aligns with my career goals and fairly compensates me for my work. Gerald leaned forward aggressively. What are they offering you? I'll match it. This was unexpected. 2 weeks ago I was replaceable. Now suddenly he wanted to negotiate? The offer is $85,000 annually with clear advancement opportunities and annual performance reviews with compensation adjustments. I watched the calculation happen on Gerald's face. That was $17,000 more than my current salary. His expression shifted from aggressive to calculating. That's a significant increase. I'm not sure we can match that. I stood up. I understand. My 2 weeks' notice stands. I'll make sure all my projects are properly transitioned. Gerald's voice stopped me at the door. Nathan, wait. Let me talk to HR. Give me until tomorrow. I turned back. Gerald, I've already accepted the other position. I've signed the offer letter. Gerald's desperation was showing now. Just give me a chance to counter. Don't make any hasty decisions. The irony was rich. When I had asked for a raise 2 weeks ago, he had laughed and called me replaceable. Now he was begging me to reconsider. I'll think about it, I said, though I had no intention of staying. I just wanted to see what he would do. The next morning, Gerald called me into his office at 8 a.m. He looked like he hadn't slept. I spoke with HR and the executive team. We can offer you $80,000, a new title of lead analyst, and a commitment to annual reviews. It was a good offer, better than I had expected. But it was still $5,000 less than my new job, and more importantly, I no longer trusted this company. I appreciate the offer, I said carefully, but I've made my decision. I'm taking the new position. Gerald's expression hardened. You're making a mistake. You have no idea if you'll succeed at this new place. Here you have security, established relationships. I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. I have security there too. And I'll have respect, which I don't have here. Gerald flinched. That's not fair. I've always respected your work. I decided to be completely honest. Gerald, 2 weeks ago you laughed in my face when I asked for fair compensation. You told me I was replaceable. You can't build respect back from that. The silence that followed was heavy and uncomfortable. Gerald seemed to age before my eyes. Finally he nodded. I see. Well, I hope it works out for you. His voice was hollow. Over the next 2 weeks, word spread through the office that I was leaving. Several colleagues quietly asked me where I was going and whether they were hiring. Apparently, I wasn't the only one unhappy with how Horizon Analytics treated its employees. My last day arrived faster than I expected. I had transitioned all my projects and written detailed handoff documents for whoever would take over my accounts. Gerald had barely spoken to me since our last conversation. At 4 p.m., I packed up the few personal items from my desk. Several colleagues came by to say goodbye and wish me luck. As I was heading toward the elevator, Gerald appeared. Nathan, a moment? We stepped into an empty conference room. Gerald closed the door and turned to me. I want you to know that I genuinely didn't realize how unhappy you were until you quit. That's on me. This was the closest thing to an apology I was going to get. I appreciate you saying that. Gerald continued, I've been managing the same way for 15 years. It worked in the past. But I'm realizing the world has changed. He paused. You were right. About the compensation, about the respect. I handled that conversation poorly. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to tell him exactly how much damage he had done. But I just felt tired. Gerald, I hope you take this as a learning experience. Good employees are hard to find. When you have them, you should value them. Gerald nodded slowly. Your replacement starts next week. We're paying him $78,000. I raised my eyebrows. So they could have afforded to pay me more all along? They just chose not to until I forced their hand by leaving. I hope he works out, I said, meaning it. I had no ill will toward whoever took my place. I walked out of Horizon Analytics for the last time at 5:15 p.m. on a Friday afternoon. The sun was shining and I felt lighter than I had in years. My new job started Monday. I spent the weekend preparing, reviewing the company materials Vanessa had sent me, and researching their major clients. I felt nervous but excited, a good kind of nervous. Monday morning I walked into my new office at 8:30 a.m. The building was modern and bright, completely different from Horizon Analytics' outdated space. Vanessa met me in the lobby with a genuine smile. Welcome, Nathan. Ready for your first day? She gave me a tour of the office, introducing me to my new colleagues. Everyone was friendly and welcoming. My workspace was an actual office with a door, not a cubicle. There was a new laptop waiting for me, along with a welcome package that included company swag and a handwritten note from the CEO welcoming me to the team. The contrast with my experience at Horizon Analytics was stunning. At 10 a.m., Vanessa pulled me into a conference room with 3 other senior analysts. We do team check-ins every Monday morning. It's a chance to discuss ongoing projects, share challenges, and support each other. For the next hour, the team talked openly about their work. When someone mentioned a problem, others offered solutions and resources. Nobody was afraid to admit when they didn't know something. This collaborative environment was completely foreign to me. At Horizon Analytics, admitting uncertainty was seen as weakness. Here it was treated as an opportunity to learn. My first week passed in a blur of training, meetings, and getting up to speed on my new accounts. The work was challenging but manageable. More importantly, I felt valued. On Friday afternoon, Vanessa stopped by my office. "How was your first week?" I smiled genuinely. "Better than I expected. Everyone has been incredibly helpful." Vanessa nodded with satisfaction. "Good. I wanted to check in because transitioning jobs can be stressful. If you need anything, my door is always open." That phrase, "my door is always open," would have been meaningless at my old job. Here I believed it. At 5:30 p.m. I packed up my things to leave. I noticed that most of my colleagues were also leaving around the same time. Nobody was working until 8 o'clock or 9 p.m. Work-life balance was actually respected here. 6 weeks into my new job, I received a LinkedIn message from someone at Horizon Analytics. It was Taylor, one of the analysts I had worked with. "Hey Nathan, hope the new job is going well. Things are falling apart here. Gerald lost the Morrison account last week. They said they wanted to work with you specifically and left when they found out you were gone. 3 other people have quit in the past month. Just thought you should know." I read the message twice, processing the information. Morrison had been one of Horizon Analytics' biggest accounts, worth at least $800,000 annually. Losing it was a significant blow. I typed back, "Thanks for letting me know. Sorry to hear things are rough. Are you doing okay?" Taylor responded immediately. "Honestly, I'm looking for new jobs. This place is toxic. Any chance your company is hiring?" I checked with Vanessa that afternoon. "We're always looking for good analysts," she said. "If you know someone worth referring, let me know." I sent Taylor the job posting that evening. 3 months into my new position, I was thriving. I had taken over 4 major accounts and brought in $1.2 million in new business. Vanessa called me into her office on a Tuesday morning. "Nathan, I wanted to give you advance notice that your 6-month review is coming up in December. Based on your performance so far, I expect it will be very positive." The fact that she was giving me advance notice and setting expectations showed a level of transparency I had never experienced at Horizon Analytics. "I appreciate that," I said. "Is there anything specific I should be focusing on?" Vanessa pulled out a document. "I've been tracking your progress. You're exceeding targets in client retention and new business development. The only area I'd like to see more growth is in team collaboration, maybe leading some training sessions or mentoring junior analysts." This was constructive feedback delivered respectfully. I could work with this. I'd be happy to lead some training sessions. What topics would be most useful? December arrived and with it my 6-month review. Vanessa and I sat down in her office with my performance metrics displayed on her computer. "Nathan, I'm pleased to tell you that you've exceeded expectations in every category. Your clients consistently praise your work, you've brought in significant new business, and your colleagues appreciate your collaborative approach." She paused. "Based on this performance, I'm recommending a salary adjustment to $92,000, effective January 1st. That's an 8% increase." I was stunned. In 6 months at this company, I had received a bigger raise than I had received in 4 years at Horizon Analytics. "Thank you," I managed to say. "I really appreciate the recognition." Vanessa smiled. "You've earned it. We believe in compensating people fairly for their contributions. That's how we retain talent." After the review, I sat in my office thinking about how drastically my life had changed. 7 months ago, Gerald had laughed at me for asking for fair compensation. That evening, I met Kyle for dinner to celebrate. He raised his glass. "To knowing your worth and not settling for less." We clinked glasses. "I can't believe how different everything is now," I said. "It's like I was living in black and white before, and now everything's in color." Kyle grinned. "That's what happens when you work for people who actually value you. By the way, Taylor started at your company last week, right?" I nodded. "Taylor had been hired 2 months ago and was doing great." "Yeah, and 2 more people from Horizon Analytics have applied. Vanessa jokes that we're stealing all their best employees." Kyle laughed. "Maybe Gerald will finally learn his lesson." I doubted it, but stranger things had happened. The following week, I received an unexpected email. It was from Gerald. "Nathan, I hope this message finds you well. I wanted to reach out to apologize properly for how I handled your request for a raise last year. You were right, I was wrong. I've been doing a lot of thinking since you left." I continued reading Gerald's email. "Losing you was a wake-up call. Losing the Morrison account was another. Watching 3 more talented analysts quit in the months since has forced me to examine my management style. I've enrolled in leadership training and have been working with HR to restructure how we handle compensation and employee development. I know this doesn't change what happened between us, but I wanted you to know that your departure created positive changes here. I'm genuinely sorry for not valuing you when I had the chance. I wish you continued success." I sat back processing the email. Part of me felt vindicated. Gerald was finally acknowledging that he had been wrong. But mostly I just felt relieved that I had gotten out when I did. I wrote back a brief response. "Gerald, I appreciate you reaching out and taking responsibility. I'm glad to hear you're making changes. I wish you and the team the best." I kept it professional and brief. That chapter of my life was closed. A year after leaving Horizon Analytics, I was promoted to team lead at my new company. I now managed 5 analysts and had complete ownership of the client relationships I had built. My salary had increased to $105,000, more than 50% higher than what I had been making when Gerald laughed at my request for a raise. The promotion came with new responsibilities, but also with the authority to make real decisions about how my team operated. I implemented the collaborative, respectful approach that Vanessa had modeled for me. My team thrived. One afternoon, I was having coffee with one of my analysts, a young woman named Casey who had recently joined from a toxic work environment similar to my old one. "I can't believe jobs like this actually exist," Casey said. "My last boss would have never asked for my input on anything." I smiled. Good leadership isn't about controlling people. It's about empowering them to do their best work. Casey looked thoughtful. "Did you always know that, or did you learn it from experience?" I thought about Gerald's office, his dismissive laughter, the humiliation I had felt. I learned it from experiencing the opposite. I had a boss who made me feel worthless and replaceable. It taught me exactly what kind of leader I never wanted to be. Casey nodded. "Well, for what it's worth, you're doing it right." That evening, I reflected on how far I had come. A year and a half ago, I had walked into Gerald's office nervous and uncertain, asking for something I deserved. His laughter had been crushing in the moment. But that laughter had pushed me to recognize my own worth. It had forced me to stop accepting less than I deserved. In a strange way, Gerald had done me a favor. His disrespect had been the catalyst I needed to change my life. I pulled up my bank account on my phone and looked at my balance. I had paid off my credit cards and started saving again. 2 years after that conversation in Gerald's office, I was leading a training session at an industry conference. The topic was employee retention and compensation strategies. During the Q&A session, someone asked, "What would you say to managers who think their employees should just be grateful to have jobs?" I paused, thinking about how to answer. I would say that gratitude and fair compensation aren't mutually exclusive. Employees can appreciate having jobs while also expecting to be valued and compensated fairly for their contributions. If your response to someone asking for a raise is to threaten them with replacement, you're not building a team, you're creating resentment. The audience nodded. After the session, several managers approached me to discuss their own compensation challenges. I shared my story about Gerald, leaving out names but keeping the essential details. The silence after his laughter was the moment everything changed, I told them. Not because he stopped laughing but because I stopped accepting his treatment. I realized I had a choice. I could stay and accept being undervalued, or I could leave and find somewhere that appreciated my work. That silence was me deciding I was worth more. One manager, probably in his 50s, looked uncomfortable. "I think I might be that laughing boss to some of my employees." I appreciated his honesty. "Then you have an opportunity to change. Talk to your team. Ask them if they feel valued. Listen to their answers. It's not too late to build something better." He nodded slowly, taking out his phone to make notes. As I packed up my materials after the conference, I thought about that Thursday afternoon 2 years ago. Gerald's laughter had been meant to diminish me, to put me in my place, to remind me how replaceable I was. Instead, it had awakened something in me, the understanding that I deserved better and the courage to pursue it. That moment of humiliation had become the turning point of my career. The silence that followed his laughter wasn't empty, it was full of possibility, change, and the beginning of understanding my true worth.